What's up, YouTube, and welcome back to my channel. And in this video, I'm just going to give my prediction for the Ole Miss Rebels versus the Mississippi State Bulldogs. But if you haven't, please like and share and subscribe to the channel. And by doing so, it greatly helps out my channel and helps me grow as a content creator. Well, this is an annual matchup, and if I'm not mistaken, it's always on Thanksgiving Day, as long as I can remember it. It's been so. I'm gonna get into the stats. Of course, Mississippi State has Will Rogers at quarterback. Uh, Very, very good quarterback. He's thrown for 3,474 yards. He has 32 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. So, uh, beast of a player. Broke a lot of records, and in the SEC and just I think in general in college football. Really, really good quarterback. And Ole Miss has Jackson Dart, a transfer from USC, and he's thrown for 2,363 yards with 16 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. And a guy, took a minute for him to get comfortable with the offense, but last couple of games he's been doing pretty good, and it seems like he's learned the offense better, and definitely a captain for the team. And at running back, for Mississippi State, they have Joquavius March, a really, really good running back. This guy has 456 yards for 8 touchdowns. Mississippi State normally doesn't, run the ball as much, but early on in the season, Mississippi State was running the ball pretty well, effectively in some games, and that's pretty good considering Mississippi State is an air raid offense. They tend to throw it more than they run it, but he had some success this season. Like I said, almost 500 yards rushing, so that's pretty good in an air raid offense. And on the other side, Mississippi State has two beast players at running back. The main one is Quinshawn Judkins. This guy is a freshman, a guy from Alabama. I don't know why we didn't recruit this guy, but this guy is very, very electric, and he's very, very good. He has 1,385 yards with 16 touchdowns. Like I said, beast of a player. Every team that I've seen him play against, he just gets loose. And the last game against Arkansas, they put up a lot of yardage. And of course, they have Zach Evans, another guy, that's on the team, and another good player. I'm gonna see if I can pull up their stats, for his, rushing stats. And this is a guy that came from TCU. Just imagine if he was still over there at TCU. Like, man, he has 899 yards, rushing, and he has 8 touchdowns, and he's averaging 6.9 yards per carry, and Quinshawn Judkins is averaging 6.0 6 yards per carry. So Mississippi has two good running backs, and Ole Miss normally, that's their bread and butter is running the ball. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens in this matchup. And of course, Mississippi State has Ra Thomas, and he has 599 yards and 6 touchdowns. Mississippi State just has a lot of good, wide receivers, that they can just throw to, just a lot of guys. But Ra is the main one, and I think he's the guy that's leading in the receiving corps. Let me make sure. Yeah, I think he's the leading receiver for Mississippi State. Let me see. Yeah, Ra Thomas, he has 599 yards. Caleb Duncan is another good wide receiver they have. He has 450 yards on the season. He's averaging 10.7 yards a catch. Like I said, Ra is averaging 14.3. So they got some really, really good guys. Rufus Harvey. They got a lot of good guys, Joquavius March, he's also, goes out wide and is able to catch the ball out the backfield as well. So this Mississippi State team is really, really good. Got a lot of targets for Will Rogers to throw to. And of course, Ole Miss has Jonathan Mingo. He has 768 yards for 5 touchdowns. And I know they got Michael Trigg. I'm going to look at his stats real quick. Yeah, they got Jonathan Mingo. They have Malik Heath. He has 754 yards. So another guy that Ole Miss throws to. They got Jordan Watkins. He has 363. Michael Trigg, he only has 156 yards this season, but he's a big target, really, really big guy. And he's a mismatch, put him on the wrong linebacker or somebody like that, he's definitely can get loose and everything like that. So, and he also came from USC, so he followed Jackson Dart over to Ole Miss. So Ole Miss got some weapons, man, just as well as Mississippi State, and it's going to come down to whose offense is going to be effective. Mississippi State likes to throw it, Ole Miss likes to run it, so it's going to be an interesting matchup. Points per game, Mississippi State is averaging 33.5 points per game. Ole Miss is averaging 35.3, so they're pretty neck and neck as far as points put up per game. Points allowed per game, Mississippi State is allowing 24.4 points per game to opponents. Ole Miss is allowing 24.2, identical. They're both giving up the same amount of points to opponents. That's interesting. Total yards, Mississippi State is getting 398.4 yards per game. Ole Miss is averaging 505 point game. So Ole Miss has the advantage there. And if we were to break that down, Ole Miss is getting 227 through the air and they're getting 278 on the ground. That's insane, guys. 278 per game. That's crazy. Like I said, Ole Miss is they got a good, rushing attack. Mississippi State going to have their hands full trying to stop that rushing attack that they got with Evans and Judkins in the backfield. Mississippi State, if you were to break their 398 now, they're getting 321 through the air, and they're getting 77 on the ground. Like I said, air raid offense. They like to pass it all around the field. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. Yards allowed, Mississippi State is allowing 351.7 points per game to opponents. And that's 202 through the air and 149 on the ground. So they're allowing a lot of yardage, on the ground, to teams. Like I said, I always say, like, to me, 150 is like the sweet spot. I think, if you can get that, you're doing pretty good. And they're giving that to opponents. So that doesn't bode well in this matchup going against Ole Miss, who likes to run the ball. And then Ole Miss, they're giving up 383 yards per game. They're giving up 216 through the air, and they're giving up 167 on the ground. So Ole Miss likes to run the ball, but they also give up the run as well. So this is going to be an interesting matchup. Mississippi State, they took a loss to Kentucky, 27-17. Will Rogers was able to, get the victory that game. And they just completely shut down Mississippi State's offense that game. And, of course, right after that, they lost to Alabama 30-6. They couldn't get anything done offensively in that game. They beat Auburn in a close overtime game, 39-33. Auburn came all the way back in that game, and Auburn was able to run the ball. Like I said, it doesn't bode well with going against this Ole Miss team, And they took a loss to Georgia, 45-19. They played, they was playing tough in the first quarter, but, Georgia eventually, offense picked up and they was able to pull away from on the road at Mississippi State. And I thought they hosted Georgia, at home. So Georgia came to their house and they lost that game. And then they beat a smaller school, ETSU, 56-7. So it's gonna be an interesting matchup. And Ole Miss, on the other hand, they beat Auburn, but Auburn was in that game. Auburn was able to come back and be able to keep up with them, but they pulled away late with and won 48-34. Then Ole Miss lost to LSU, and that was a battle of a matchup to see who was going to win. Not at that point, but LSU had the upper hand. Whoever had the upper hand in that game probably was going to determine who was going to win the West at that point. And LSU was able to get the victory 45-20. Then Ole Miss went to Texas A&M, and then they lost. No, they won 31-28. Barely scraped out a victory against Texas A&M at Texas A&M. At that time, Texas A&M made some changes to the. I think it made changes at the quarterback position. I think Connor Wayman played that game. I'm not sure, but they barely squeaked out a victory against Texas A&M. Then, of course, they hosted Alabama at home, my Alabama Crimson Tide, and lost 30-24. I'm going to be honest. In that game, Ole Miss got off to a good start, and I thought they was going to run away with it, but Alabama turned it around in the second half and made some adjustments and was able to slow down Ole Miss just enough so they can win. So then, of course, Ole Miss took a huge loss to Arkansas, 42 to 27. And, in a game where, KJ Jefferson was able to come back, and Arkansas needed him to come back for this game. He definitely makes a difference when he's in the game. So, like I said, Ole Miss is coming off 2 straight losses, and Mississippi State is coming off a victory against a smaller school. So I'm looking at the point spread right now. It's at -2 points. I think this game is going to be close. If I had to give a prediction for the game, though, I think this is a hard one, guys. Both teams are averaging about the same amount of points, and they're both giving up about the same amount of points. So to me, it's really a pick'em game. If I had to pick a winner, though, I think, wow, God, this is hard. This is hard. If I had to put money on, I think Ole Miss is going to pull this out, but barely. And I think it's going to be a score like, I think 38 to 35, 38 to 35, Ole Miss. I think both teams are going to play really, really hard. I think Mississippi State is going to be in good position to win this game, but I think it's going to come down to the run game. I think Ole Miss is going to get off to a good start. They're playing at home. I think they're playing at home, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they're playing at Oxford, Mississippi. I think Mississippi State is going to get up for this game for Ole Miss, but I think Ole Miss is going to pull it out. I think that running game is going to be too much for Mississippi State. And like I said, Mississippi State is allowing, on average, 150 yards to opponents. If they're giving up that much, I expect Ole Miss to get way more than that. And like I said, Ole Miss is averaging 278. Like, that's insane. And I could just see Ole Miss just grinding on Mississippi State's defense. Now, in my opinion, early on in the season, I thought Mississippi State would have had the better defense, and they're very stingy. But I thought Mississippi State was going to beat LSU early on in the season, but they, if I'm not mistaken, let me go back and check that. I just want to be sure about that. I think Mississippi State lost to LSU early on in the season. Yeah. Mississippi State lost to LSU early on in the season. We know Jaden Daniels is a mobile quarterback, and Jackson Dart can run it as well. So I think Jackson Dart's going to get some yards in this game. And, of course, the 2 running backs, Zach Evans and Quinshon Judkins, is going to have a good day. And like I said, they're giving up 150 yards on the ground. I just see Ole Miss able to run, basically have a good rushing offense. And I don't see Mississippi State being able to keep up and take it away. But I think Mississippi State is going to put up some points. But I think Mississippi State is going to take a loss here. I think Ole Miss got the victory 38 to 35. But what do you guys think? Leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. And once again, guys, if you haven't, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And I'll definitely be back with more college football content. Thanks, guys, and roll tide.